let's talk about Duelyst. Duelyst is amazing. I love Duelyst. So Duelyst is basically Hearthstone and chess in the same game, which is pretty awesome, honestly. And I'd like to just show you guys why I think it's absolutely amazing by giving you sort of a walkthrough through a couple of really, really close games. If I can find them. There's the first one. These games were really close. So I'll just give you a quick run through of just what the rules are. If you've ever played Hearthstone, it's very similar to that. It's a card game, collectible card game. You build a deck, and each card has a mana cost, which is this number here, and you can have spells and minions, creatures, same thing. They have attack and they have defense, and they'll have text on the card, and sometimes the text alters what's going on the board. So in this case, this guy is provoking, which means that any creatures, minions, the two generals, which are basically the leaders of the armies, and your spellcasters that do all of these things, if anyone is adjacent to this character here, any enemy units will not be able to attack anything other than this, and they also won't be able to move away. Move away! Why do you say that? Because if you're thinking of Hearthstone, well, that's just a series of characters that are on your side of the board and a series of characters that are on their side of the board. Well, in this game, it's grid-based. So you've got a grid of 9 by 5, I believe, and so positioning is very important, which is one of the reasons I love this game, because positioning is amazing. It just leads to all sorts of interesting decisions. And yeah, so basically try and kill the enemy general. So in this case, I'm on the right here. I'm playing Vitruvian, which are great. They're like Egyptian Protoss Paladin types. They're great. And my opponent here is playing Abyssian. And Abyssian, they like building all sorts of tiny little useless characters, but in mass. I mean, they're like Zerg. They're Zergers. Zerglings. Zerg... whatever. They just attack in mass with lots of weak units. And they're really scary because they can buff all of their units sometimes, and give them really nasty attack potential. But anyway, I'm just going to leap into this. So, again, like in Hearthstone, you get to choose your hand, and you can mulligan your hand, sort of. You can get rid of 2 cards, and in this case, I can't remember what I kept it. So the cards I've got right now, this is great. This is destroy any enemy that's adjacent to my general. So anyone in the 8 immediate tiles next to me, I can blow them up, which is awesome. It's really useful. Less useful against Abyssian, because Abyssian has, as I said, lots of tiny units, which makes this kind of costly and not really worth it for the amount of mana I have to spend to get it. This is an artifact. An artifact can be equipped to your general, and in this case, this artifact gives my general +2 attack, so this 2 goes up to a 4. And I can take damage 3 times before my artifact is destroyed. Again, kind of functions similarly to equipment in Hearthstone. And then this is just a spell that buffs a friendly minion and gives me some card draw as well, which is nice. And then these just give you an extra mana, and I love how they've handled first turn advantage in this game, because they've just given me a slight edge. What was that? Oh yes, equipped an artifact there that whenever oh god, that's nasty. Whenever the enemy general now deals damage, they summon a 1/1 Wraithling, and the Wraithling is like it's a Zergling. They're horrible. And yeah, this can get really out of hand pretty quickly. And then this fellow, also a pain, because they really are, Abyssian really are Zerg, because they spawn creep. And creep deals damage to enemy units at the end of her turn, not mine. Which is important, because that means that it's not every turn, it's every other turn. And I always forget which one it is. So I don't have too much of a choice. So I'm just going to equip my artifact, and I think I leave it at that. Yeah. Yeah, and the other card I got here is just another buff that's slightly better than the other one, and makes them immune to damage from generals, which is often kind of useful. Yeah, so that's pretty obvious what just happened there. It's a 2/2 that summons a 1/1. And the same thing again, because I guess she had 2 of them. Can go a little bit quicker here. So now I smash the guy in the middle so that I can place my Shield Master there. And that prevents these guys from doing anything but attack this guy on their turn. So now at this point, she does the other thing which just make Abyssian insufferable. So this is basically, what's it called? Ravaging Hyena from Hearthstone. Whenever any creature on the board dies, this gets a buff that's permanent until it dies. And these guys can get really scary really quickly. Because, again, Abyssian, lots of tiny units. What happens to tiny units when there's a lot of them? They just zerg into the enemy and just get murdered and buff this guy and make him really scary. So I hate it whenever I see one of these on the board, because I just start internally crying. They are really scary. Yeah, and that's their hero ability. Is to summon 2 more of these little guys. Mine is to summon a 2/2 Iron Dervish, which is often pretty useful. Mathematically, it amounts to the same thing, except I would argue that maybe my ability is slightly less powerful than hers, because at the end of the day, I can only attack 1 target with mine. Let's see what happened here. Yeah, I just buffed my Shield Master a little bit. Yeah. She's casting a lot. Oh yeah, that's the terrible scary spell that just does tons of damage. There were so many points in this game where I was just like, well, I'm about to lose. This was one of them. This was probably the first point in the game where I was like, well, that's it, I've lost. Because I saw that and I'm just like, well, that's a lot of big numbers, and I think I'm going to die now. Yeah, already my health is rapidly decaying, and I have nothing on the board right now. And again, looking at this, I thought, well, my cards aren't too useful, because I've got two destruction spells here, which are useless in this situation, except against him, and I can't get close to him. I have this card here, which was... Yeah, I'm playing both my minions. This one is for card draw, basically, and interference to distract the enemy, because in this case, there's not much it's going to be able to do. And in this case, yeah, that guy just used his opening attack to deal damage, because his card text allows him to deal damage when he's summoned. So there goes my guy. And he summoned another copy of that same card from my deck. So when I saw that, I'm just like, well, that was a complete waste of my time. This guy's great because when he attacks in a straight line. He's like a rook from chess. He's pretty useful, but unfortunately they're really squishy. So here, I took the only thing I could do and used my destruction spell to blast the crap out of that guy, because I didn't really want him on the board anymore. This is a good combination. So this allowed me to... I used my greater buff on him to make him really nasty. But he's still kind of squishy. Especially if my opponent can buff any of their creatures. And by the way, the enemy general still has this really annoying spell that summons a Wraithling. Yeah, so what happened there was she summoned a character that wasn't exhausted when they're summoned, which is usually the case. Usually when you summon a character, they can't do anything on the turn they're summoned. But that guy could, so he just mauled my Pyromancer, which saddens me greatly. So again, at this point I'm like, well, my health is lower, and although lots of little weak ones, I'm just expecting another one of those mass buff cards that the Abyssian have. Just waiting for that to happen. Yeah, so right now I'm just like, dump my hand, do whatever I can. Give them... This is basically to distract her, because I'm expecting a lot worse this turn, and I really don't want to have to... Oh, yeah. I really didn't want to have to deal with anything. And... I think... Yeah, I can't remember. can't remember what I did with this. Or what she let happen to it. If it survived, I probably just ran it into the Shield Master. Or I destroy the... Yeah, there we go. Destroy the Shield Master to keep my Necroseer on the board. Did I... Oh, I go for face. I'm like... at this point, I'm like, I just need to kill this character, because if this game goes on much longer, I'm dead. So again, summoning creatures for interference. This poor Necroseer is just going to get murdered. I think I summoned a Dervish as well. No, I forgot to summon a Dervish because I'm an idiot. I tend to forget my hero power all the time, which is a shame. Bloodborne spell, by the way. Not hero power. Same thing, though. Hero power is from Hearthstone. Oh, yeah. This one's also terrifying. This was the next point in the game where I'm like, okay, I'm dead, because this guy just summons more of these 1/1s, except they're slightly different, and these guys can attack on the turn they're summoned as well, which makes them even scarier. And again, I have minions. Minions will just get murdered because they can't do anything on the turn they're summoned, so they just instantly die. It's horrible. Yeah. Again, I'm just waiting for my death right now. Oh. Deal 1 damage, teleport it to somewhere else on the board. This is common. And it's insufferable. Because, again, like chess, it's like, what use is your... Well, I guess in chess there's a lot more longer ranged units, but in this case it's like, you've got a super powerful creature. Let's just move it to the other side of the board where it takes like 4 turns for it to get somewhere where it can actually do anything useful. It's a really interesting way to deal with removal in a way that's not binary, in that it just destroys the creature or it doesn't destroy the creature. So, let's see, third point in the game where I'm about to die. And again, no spells. I can't do anything about this horde. I can just run interference. And I can replace one of them, 1 card a turn. In this case, it wasn't too useful because it gives me a buff to a creature. And that might make it last a little bit longer, but it's not going to get me any closer to beating my opponent. So again, just building a wall of minions that they have to tear down. And just hoping that my opponent runs out of free units, which is never a good idea. Just waiting for the inevitable to happen. And it's just... This game went on for so long, and the whole time it was like, I'm about to die, aren't I? And then I just didn't die. The game just kept going. And it's one of the reasons I love this game, is because the tension is just there forever. Almost every game I've played of Duelyst, it's just, the tension just doesn't go away. It keeps on going, and I find that just the endless, in this case as well, and endless just swarms of enemies just keep on coming. But in general, the way how it works is, okay, well, I'll summon a few creatures, and then they'll summon a few creatures and destroy some of mine, and that's just how the game works. And eventually someone wins. But the whole game is balanced on a knife's edge for most of the part, because it's very difficult to snowball in this game. There's just so many different ways to equalize it. But oh, I missed it, and you can't rewind. Okay, that's really annoying. Okay, so what just happened there was that she had a huge wall of enemies, those little zergling, wraithling things, and I had a tough unit on my side. That I thought when I summoned that, well, I'm just not going to be able to do anything. Now, the mistake my opponent made there was to not move her general out of the way. She was still within range of that massive creature. So the solution to that problem was just use my general, I think, if I remember correctly, because I missed that because I was too busy ranting, to clear a path through to the enemy general, march my big stompy unit in right next to the general, and then just beat the crap out of her. And when I saw that, I was like, because again, at that point, I was like, well, I've lost the game. I'm dead. But I just saw that and it was like, oh my god, they've made a mistake and I can exploit it and I can win. And those sorts of moments in any sort of card game or tactical strategy game are the best, where it's just like, you think you're gonna lose, but then you see the solution. And the more creative the solution is, the more amazing it feels. Which is one of the reasons I just adore this game. So let's go to this one. Now this game was frustrating. To set the scene here, this is in the Gauntlet, which is basically the arena from Hearthstone. You draft a deck of 30 cards, and it's semi-random, so you're given 3 options, and you pick one of them, and that card goes into your deck, and you continue until your deck's full. So my deck is semi-random, which is very interesting, because it leads to all sorts of unusual situations that you wouldn't normally have. Because again, this is a collectible card game. When you're drafting, these aren't cards that are in your collection. So many of them, like Black Locust, which I've never been able to use properly, which disappoints me, are cards that you just don't have in your collection. So they're ones that you've either never seen before or you've never been able to use, which is great because it allows you to go on the unknown frontier. In this case, Black Locust, I feel like that's an awesome card. Unfortunately, all of my opponents have had the good sense to destroy it, or I've had the poor sense to let it get destroyed. So whenever this character moves, it just creates a copy of itself. And as you can imagine, that just increases exponentially and would quickly become unmanageable for the opponent. As I said, they've never been stupid enough to let that happen. So, because this is Gauntlet, what happens is that you continue with this deck until you lose 3 times. So it's more stressful than Ladder even, because the stakes are higher. Because there's a gold cost to get into the Gauntlet. Also, the other thing that infuriates me about this character, this opponent of mine, is that he was taking forever for his turns. You don't see it here because it's sped up, and I think that the faffing about is removed in the replays when you're not set to real time. But he was taking forever. He was clearly doing something else whilst playing this, which was incredibly frustrating. And yeah, that just kills me. Yeah, again, another mistake. I forgot that Lionar, my opponent's class, can destroy enemy units that aren't nearby my general. Mind you, fairly expensive, but that was stupid. As soon as I saw that, I was like, I just made a mistake there. I should have kept that in the same position as when I summoned it. But I was trying to create a wall to more effectively block off the attack, but obviously I failed. Also, this guy, super important. Whenever I summon a minion, it gets stronger. And my opponent never moved it from this spot until the end of the game. And I don't know why. Because that would have been hugely useful to him in so many different situations. I think he was waiting for it to get stronger until I couldn't stop it. I can't fathom. Either that or he's an overconfident idiot. But I'm not going to judge him. Also, this guy adds 1 attack to this guy every turn. And I can't really do anything to stop him. Except I can on this turn, I think, because I've got a spell which destroys every weak creature on the board. Which I'm about to use because it'll equalize this and destroy 3 of his minions. Hugely useful. Again, this game has it has so many different options to equalize the board. And that's one of the reasons why it's always on a knife's edge, because you always think you're going to win, but then your opponent draws a card and that card just wipes out your board and you're back to an equalized situation, and the tension just starts mounting up again as they start summoning more creatures. Yeah, this guy's another... He's got Provoke as well, so I can't move now. I have to attack him, and he's got more attack now. This was a great move, if I do say so myself. I gave him a buff, but the drawback to that buff is that at the end of my turn, it turns that character into a semi-useless pet. And pets are controlled by the AI for whichever team they're on. So it was still controlled by him, but it's still owned by him, sorry, but it was controlled by the AI. I made a mistake there. He dropped this guy spawned him on one of my a little fellow over here who I thought I had killed, but I ended the turn before I killed him. So that was a mistake on my part. Again, equalize the board with my board clear that kills all the weak enemies. Again, this guy's still sitting here doing nothing. I don't understand why. Meanwhile, I'm slowly stacking up attack damage because that's my special power, is to give myself more attack permanently. So now he's getting scared. He's running away, and he's again trying to build a wall between us, which is looking successful. So at this point, I summon this fellow who often, if he stays on the board, really useful because he's got flying, so he can basically teleport anywhere to attack anything. So he's not restricted in movement, which is awesome. And this guy, he's got rebirth, so when he's killed, he spawns an egg, which will then hatch into itself. But the egg's super weak, so it can just get knocked over really easily. Oh yeah, and then he's used a spell to stun this guy, so he can't do anything next turn. Again, really annoying. This guy, he just kept on doing things which left me in a situation where I'm not going to win. I can't win this. He just keeps on going. Keeps on coming. And I mean, it looks like in this situation it's good, but bear in mind that if I get within range of this guy, he'll just kill me. So I can't move my general anywhere near this fellow. So at this point, again, building a wall because I don't want this guy to come over and murder me. Which is, I find is often how these games tend to end up. Where it's just like, I can't deal with you this turn, I'm going to build a wall and run away and wait for my next turn. Which is really fun. Now he just dispelled everything. So this guy who gets bigger every turn doesn't get bigger every turn. And this thing which gives all of my creatures a health buff doesn't give all my creatures a health buff. And this thing is just a useless egg now. It doesn't do a damn thing. So disappointing. Fortunately, my flying guy is back in the game, so he can now start murdering stuff. Yeah, there we go. I heal up my character. Again, not much use in this case because this guy's still really scary and can still kill me in one turn. And this is where we reach the critical moment of the game. This is the most important deciding moment of the game. It was at this point I did some mental calculations here, and I realized that on his next turn he would be able to kill me. And I'll just wait until my turn to show you what the actual situation was. Because unlike previous situations where I thought I'm about to die, this is where I thought, no, I am going to die next turn, and there's nothing I can do to stop that. This was what I was faced with on my turn. This guy can attack this and destroy it. Then he can move his general up and smash my egg. And then that leaves the path clear for his Oculus to just wander over here and nonchalantly just blow me into the stratosphere with his... I guess it's a sort of eyeball fist thing? I didn't actually pay too much attention to what it was. It just looked scary. Regardless, he has lethal. He can kill me on his next turn. What are my options here? Not much. I can't move either my general or my beetle because of this fellow. I have the ability to destroy any creature with the lowest attack. Guess what? But I have two of the creatures with the lowest attack. And it's not going to do a damn thing against this guy because this guy's really scary and terrifying. And I have an unstable Leviathan, who is really scary, yes, but can't do a damn thing because it's a minion and they have exhaustion when they're summoned. So that's not too much use for me. In the meantime, what do I do in this situation? He's about to kill me and I can't run away and I can't destroy this thing. Or can I? I can, But unfortunately I screwed up because I'm an idiot. I forgot to use my ability to give myself a bonus to my attack to kill him. So that didn't really help. So I failed to prevent what was about to happen. I didn't manage to do anything to stop this guy from killing me, which is really sad. And at this point I'm like, well, I've lost. Again, super frustrating because this guy was taking his sweet time on his turns because he was doing whatever else. But then he does that, which cost him the game. That is... In chess, there are two terms for an error. The first is a mistake. A mistake is a thing which, you know, you screwed up, basically. And it caused you to lose some ground or lose some pieces that you didn't have to lose. The second type of error is a blunder. That was a blunder. A blunder is a mistake that's so bad that it just has dire consequences for the rest of the game. He didn't kill me. Now my beetle can go and deal a significant amount of damage to him, and I have a second one in reserve, so it doesn't matter if he kills this one. So at this point, I run away and summon my other beetle, and then throw this guy on the board, again, to run interference, and to prevent him from doing anything, basically to kill me on my turn. And he can't do anything to stop this beetle, I hope, because the beetle will win me the game. So, kills the wolf, summons a useless character that can't do anything on his turn, and then buffs that character who still can't do anything useful on his turn, and that's it. And now it's my turn. Now I fly my beetle over there and kill him. And I just breathed a huge sigh of relief. Because, my god, was that game stressful. That game was so stressful. Totally exhausting. I don't think I actually played anything else that evening when I played this, because I walked away from that and I was just like, that game was close in so many different ways, but because I was playing against someone who I found insufferable, I just couldn't stand the thought of losing to him. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I would have cried, I think. Again, awesome game. Really good game. It's basically whatever I wanted from Hearthstone, except, you know, it's not Hearthstone. It's generally better in most ways. You know, it's gorgeous. It's got that fantastic pixel art aesthetic to it in game, and then these lovely and slightly parallaxy screens that have this really nice painterly feel to them. And it's like, it's Hearthstone with chess. It's awesome. It's so good. Anyway, that was a look at this awesome game, which I love. And I would hesitantly suggest you should try it, because it's actually really good. But yeah, that was my video. I hope you have a fantastic evening, or day, or night. Bye.